Welcome to the Cookbook, where we invite guests on to share the ingredients of what has helped make them the successes that they are. All of it, the good, the not so good. You're not going to find anything half-baked here. And our kitchen gets messy sometimes. That's when the fun starts. So come on and join us. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cookbook. I'm your host, Iris Goldfeder. And I'm excited about our guest today, DeAnn Chase. We met a little while ago and had some really interesting conversations. And so I'm going to read her bio and then I'll bring her on. So DeAnn Chase is a business attorney and strategic business growth expert who works with entrepreneurs and business owners to create proper legal structures that form the foundation for a successful business. DeAnn has practiced law for over 25 years and has appeared in virtually every courthouse in Southern California defending businesses of all sizes against lawsuits. That's important. DeAnn is passionate about sharing her wealth of legal knowledge to help entrepreneurs and business owners to avoid costly mistakes and lawsuits. DeAnn is a renowned business attorney who has received many commendations for her professionalism and dedication to the entrepreneurship. She has achieved the Martindale-Hubbell AV Preeminent Peer Review Rating. Wow, say that 3 times fast. The Martindale-Hubbell AV Preeminent Peer Review Rating, a prestigious honor for the highest ethical standards and professional ability awarded to only approximately 10% of attorneys every year since 2016. That's huge. That's huge. I didn't know that. I don't think we talked about that. She was named as a woman to watch by the Los Angeles Business Journal and honored as a woman of entrepreneurship by Comerica Bank and the Los Angeles Lakers. Right on. Her firm was nominated as the best law firm for small business by the Best of Small Business Awards, and she was named in the top 100 small business visionaries. DeAnn has a remarkable ability to cut through the uncertainty and confusion experienced by many entrepreneurs, and I'm one of them, and business owners when it comes to legal issues. She is a frequent speaker to groups large and small, has participated on many expert panels, and has been featured as a guest on many podcasts and radio programs. DeAnn has created a broad range of products and programs that help entrepreneurs and business owners to incorporate manageable legal structures and systems into their business. Wow. So without further ado, let's bring on DeAnn. Wow, woman.
Hi, Iris.
Hi. I knew some of your accolades, but I didn't know all of them. So that's awesome. And I love that you're part of like a 10%. I think that speaks volumes. And when we first spoke, I mean, I knew that, you know, you were somebody to speak to. So let's talk about a little about who you are, what you do, tell our audience.
Sure. Well, I'm very proud of the Martindale-Hubbell rating because it is a peer-reviewed process where my attorney peers and judges voted to nominate me for that prestigious honor, and integrity and professionalism and a dedication to my clients and customer service in the law is really important to me. So that's an award I'm very proud of, as well as the fact that I'm an entrepreneur myself. And I think like an entrepreneur, I work with entrepreneurs. And so to have been awarded the entrepreneurial awards by, the Lakers and in the LA Business Journal was really also such a great honor. But so I've been practicing law over 25 years. I work only with business owners and entrepreneurs. And having spent a lot of time, in the courtrooms, when I first started, as a young lawyer, I worked in downtown Los Angeles in a big law firm. I was on partnership track, all that good stuff. And it was a great opportunity to be in court and see what can happen to a business if it is not structured properly. And so taking that experience with me when I started my firm in 2007, really it was my mission then and now to help entrepreneurs to avoid a lot of the legal mistakes that I would see happen, in the courtroom.
Wow. I mean, and that's awesome. And I love the fact that that your peers, awarded you. That's huge.
Mhm.
Lawyers, unfortunately, don't have, like there's always jokes about lawyers and their ethics, and
Of course, right.
um, but in speaking with you, and obviously from your awards, I think that just speaks volumes. And for your peers to award that, I think that says everything.
Yeah.
So how do you help the entrepreneur? What do you do? Like, walk us through a scenario.
Sure. So anytime I'm talking to a new client or an entrepreneur over cocktails, you know, um, I just first I kind of gauge where they are in the process. I work with businesses at all stages, and I work with all different types of businesses. So I'm very industry agnostic. I work with everything from professional service providers like dentists, chiropractors, lawyers, accountants. I work with people in the healthcare industry, fitness, marketing, entertainment. But what is universal across all of those industries is the same fundamentals, legal fundamentals that apply to any business. And so I will conduct I take a holistic approach very strategically, looking at what I deem to be like the 5 main areas that entrepreneurs need to be aware of. The first is their foundation, their entity structure. The second is their brand through trademark and copyright protection. The third is their contracts, whether they have contracts with their clients, their customers. That ventures over into contracts with independent contractors. And then the fourth area is employment, because if your independent contractor is really an employee, then you need to have employment processes, handbooks in place. And then the final stage is really on the leasing real estate side of things. So I just kind of take every client through that process and determine where they are at every stage.
Wow. So what if somebody doesn't have a brick and mortar? How would that work? Just everything except for the last part of the. Okay, cool. So,
Yes.
so when you're first starting to work with somebody, what are because you're not going to take every client, right? Like, not everybody's a good match.
Sure.
What are the things that you look for?
So what I look for, my ideal client is someone who wants to make sure things are done the right way. So I know I can spot my client at any time during our initial conversation. I'd say almost 100% of the time someone says, look, I just want to make sure things are done right. I'm like, cue the confetti, you're in the right place.
Right.
Because I don't want to work with people who just want to take shortcuts. I mean, I absolutely understand that every entrepreneur has to be conscious of the bottom line. And that's the number one reason why entrepreneurs use, these online DIY services and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, I believe that the advice of an attorney is still absolutely critical to have a successful business, because there are just, so many things that entrepreneurs are just simply not aware of, that nor would they otherwise be aware of until, unfortunately, sometimes it's too late.
Right. And well, I'll just leave that there. But I think that you're right. People don't realize it, and people sometimes sign things without reading everything. And I've learned the importance of having an attorney. I never thought of it before, right? I always ran my business the way that I ran it. And then, I had a partnership that ended, and, I trusted. And not that, anybody was out to screw me. I'm not going to say that, but, I moving forward, I don't sign anything without looking and speaking to an attorney.
Yeah.
You most likely. So, and when I get to the point that, I'll probably be talking to you. And that's the other thing. Can you can operate anywhere, right? Not just the state of California?
Well, I'm licensed only in the state of California. And so, I never hold myself out as practicing in any other jurisdiction or having any sort of specific knowledge in any other state. But, the general principles apply across state lines, the same fundamental basics. And so usually I will, I have worked with clients in other states, particularly on trademark matters, which is a federal, we file a national trademark. So I help clients there. But even when I'm talking to clients in other states, I let them know, again, the general principles. And then I do always recommend that they consult with an attorney in their state to see if there are any particular nuances of their own state laws that may apply.
Gotcha. Okay. So you weren't always an entrepreneur. So what made you decide to become an entrepreneur?
Well, so I was raised by an entrepreneur. My dad was an entrepreneur at heart, but he was, worked a blue collar job. He worked at General Motors, worked on the line, on the assembly line. And he constantly had so many ideas, different types of things. And so I think I was always inspired by him, by his excitement to come up with find a hole in a market, come up with a new product, come up with a new idea. So that was always sort of built in to my lineage, if you will. But I followed a traditional path. I went to college and then went on to law school and came out of law school. And frankly, I had school loan debt and all that good stuff. So I took a job, a law job that paid in a big law firm and on partnership track. And as a young lawyer, that gave me great experience because I had great mentors and great training. But ultimately it came down to, when we started our family and I wanted to be able to be there for my kids, to have the flexibility of, controlling my own lifestyle and my own hours and not having to account necessarily to, kind of the powers that be. So that's what really triggered for me to start my own practice. Ultimately was the ability to raise my kids and not to drop them off at a daycare at 6 a.m. to be in court by 8 a.m., which is what I was doing before I started my practice.
That's a lot. That's stressful, right?
Well, it's as a mom, it was so difficult. I had a young baby, and once my maternity leave was over, I was like, taking my baby to infant care so I could be in court, and it just wasn't the lifestyle for me.
Good. And good for you to recognize that, act on it, and be able to act on that. I think that's pretty cool. So, but when you started your practice, did you know right away that you wanted to work for entrepreneurs, or did you have a plan, or did you just want to start a practice and kind of help whomever needed it at that point?
No, when I started out as a business lawyer, helping businesses avoid the mistakes that I saw a lot of them making in court. So, I had a case one time that, we were in front of a jury and a client had tried to work out a settlement with, in that case, it was his neighbor. And he'd sent some emails, trying to kind of work it out before you hire a lawyer. And he made all kinds of things that are known as admissions against interest. And, when we were sitting in front of the jury and statements that he made in emails were blown up exhibits with big highlighted areas, a lot of really difficult situations. And so when I started from day one, the idea was to work with entrepreneurs and business owners and help them avoid those mistakes.
That sounds like a hell of a mistake. Wow.
Oh, it was difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did that case go?
We lost, but we won, if you can, in that Well, first off, the plaintiff in that case was suing my client, and he was demanding an outrageous amount of damages that were just not realistic, and we were not able to resolve it before trial. So ultimately, the jury did come back with a verdict against my client, but for about the amount of damages that we felt were really reasonable and what we tried to settle for beforehand. So
Right.
So it was one of those situations where I knew that we had liability on the part of my client, and and of course the exhibits blown up at trial didn't help things.
Right.
Certainly he was not well liked by the jury, but ultimately I think it came down to a fair result.
Good. That's cool.
Yeah.
So people listening to this, the audience is all about entrepreneurs. And there are people who are thinking about becoming entrepreneurs. What advice would you have for those folks?
Well, I mean, I think that anyone who's thinking about, being an entrepreneur, starting their own business, I think it's really important to make a plan, and a written business plan. A lot of times it's so easy for us. And like I said, I'm an entrepreneur myself, so I've done these things from experience, right? We come up with this great idea. We're excited and inspired. We start doing the research. Yes, the domain's available. So we think, okay, off we go. But I think too many businesses fail. I mean, the statistics, when you look at SBA statistics on the failure rate of businesses in the first, first 5 years, is something as high as 50%. And the reason being is that, entrepreneurs don't take the time to do an analysis of the market. I mean, you may have an idea for the market, but is it a product that the market really wants, right? So you really need to test your market. And then on the legal side of things, I think people decide that they think they're going to kind of wait and see how things go. And unfortunately, that's where they can get themselves in trouble from the start, that can then carry over either into their personal lives or into their business as it grows. So an example is that a lot of people will not form a business entity like an LLC or a corporation right from the start. They say, well, I don't want to have the cost of putting that entity together and paying whatever, different states have different fees that are associated with it. So they wait to form a business entity, which I think is a big mistake.
Right.
It's really important to form, and my general preference is for an LLC wherever possible, just because they're really easy to set up and easy to maintain. But then you form your entity, and then all your contracts are in the name of your entity, so that then if you have a contract dispute, that entity provides you with liability protection. You also can start to develop corporate credit from the start under the EIN number, the tax identification number for the entity. Where if you wait, I say it's like giving a college student a credit card. If you wait until you're in business, 2-3 years down the road, then you've lost the opportunity to establish corporate credit, for example. So that's a mistake I see quite often, is people wait to form the entity. A big problem I see in partnership situations is people are so excited to get started that they just start, right? And they don't always put everything in writing. And sometimes after the fact, they're putting things in writing. Or, I have a client right now who's in a partnership dispute with a partner where they only put together an agreement because the bank required it for the loan. So they just threw something together and they never looked at it again. And now that they have a dispute, that's the document they have in writing. And one partner is saying, well, the agreement says this. And the other partner is like, well, I never intended that to be the case. And frankly, the document they put together it's crap. It's really, really bad. It's really bad. And so when it's like that, it's like, well, you're bound by what you signed.
Right.
But what are we ultimately going to do with that? So, so partnerships in particular, I work with a lot of partners, I say, going in and going out. And it's just really, really important. I had some partners who were breaking up, and someone said to me, what makes a good friend does not necessarily make a good business partner.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
when people say, oh, we've been friends for a really long time, that's great. But still, the best time to get it in writing is at the beginning when everybody is excited and this is going to be the next best thing. And the most important things to get in writing with your partner is just kind of what the expectations and understandings are as to who's going to be doing what role is each individual going to play. And do you have a common vision?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's interesting because I had 2 partnerships. I'm not going to probably have another partnership.
People who've had partnerships say, I'm not going to do it again. Myself included, by the way.
But what I found is that both times, I feel like I'm echoing. Yeah, my mic keeps jumping up. I don't know what's going on. No, I don't know. But what I find is that I like being on my own. I like doing my own thing. I like not having to confer with somebody over a move that I'm going to make, or I do like having a sounding board, but I have plenty of business associates and friends who are in business that I can bounce that off of. So
yeah.
Okay, so we were talking about
partnerships,
yes, or lack thereof,
right? And how important it is to get it in writing with your partner from the start.
100%. So and what I love about this is that every guest I have on, I ask, what advice do you have for people thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, and being able to come to it from a legal aspect gives it a whole nother layer, because people don't think about that. So when I first started my business, I did an LLC, like right away. In DeAnn, it's like $125. It was like a no-brainer.
So that's the right thing to do.
Yeah. And so my first business was same thing. So this is a DBA. So it's like ICG Development Consulting, LLC, doing business as Gasstovecreative, LLC. So I kept everything as an LLC. And a lot of people, you're right, they don't do it. They do the sole proprietorship. And a friend of mine just started a business, I think like about a month ago. And the first thing I said was, did you do an LLC?
Mm-hmm.
Nah, I'm not going to do that.
I
said, no, do it. I'll give you the $125 if you don't have it. Do it. Just because of the liability, because people don't think about that. So that's super important. What advice would you have? Obviously not giving the cow away with the milk, but I haven't said that in a while. I just dated myself.
My mom used to say something about that.
Yeah, I just dated I'm old, so
but something a little different. Yeah.
But what advice could you give somebody? I know an LLC, but what are some things that they should look for to cover themselves?
Yeah. So when they get started, they should form an LLC, unless for some reason they should be a small corporation. So for example, a lot of times people will say, well, should I be an S Corp? Right? I've heard I should be an S Corp. Well, all that really is a tax election. So you can have an LLC taxed as an S Corp, which a lot of people don't realize. But in some circumstances, you have to be a corporation. For example, again, I'm in the state of California, but in the state of California, you can't practice a profession through an LLC. So I have had people who come to me, chiropractors and occupational therapists who have LLCs. And I'm like, well, in the state of California, you can't be doing that because that's not in keeping with your professional responsibilities. And so they have the wrong entity, has also happened. So
you can't operate under an LLC in California?
If you are a professional services provider.
Wow.
Yeah. So you can be an LLC, except for there are some certain circumstances. So that's why
I couldn't be an LLC in California.
Well, no, you could be. If I'm talking about if you have a license, like a chiropractor,
Okay, I
or
gotcha.
yeah, or a doctor, or an attorney, or something
Okay,
like that.
gotcha.
But yeah, but then just generally speaking, I recommend that, yeah. So you have your LLC, you talk to your tax advisor about its tax status, if there's a benefit to being taxed as an S corp, which is a different tax structure, and so always talk to your tax advisor. You should have, you need to get a business license. You get your business license in the city in which you're doing business, so you can go online for your city and get a business license. You should also have just a basic policy of insurance, known as like commercial general liability insurance policy. You should have that, because if you were to be sued for something relating to your business, then you want to have insurance. And insurance doesn't cover everything, but it can cover, your negligent acts. It doesn't cover a lot of things, but it's still important to have.
Wow. Okay, so everybody listening out there, this is the first time that we've had this, where get your LLC, depending on where you are, get your business license and get insurance. That is super important.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, thank you for that. I'm sure my audience is going, oh, shit. Okay, cool. Because
yes, no, ooh,
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or they're giving you the deer in the headlights look, like.
Yeah, like what the hell? Well, and here's the other thing is, some people become entrepreneurs out of necessity, which was me back in the day. So, those people probably have like no clue, right? About insurance, or about, the LLC, or, they're just like, ooh, I just got fired or laid off or whatever. And do I want to go work for somebody else, or do I want to start my own business? Well, I'm going to start my own business because woohoo, I'll have all this freedom and I can do what I want. And then it's like, no. And I say this almost on every episode, because it's like, I can't tell you how many people that I've spoken to that they just think that being your own boss is, and it is the jam, but there's a lot that goes with it. It's not like an easy.
It is not easy.
It's not easy. And I've been in business for 8 years with gas stove, with my little stint, with something else. And it's not easy. And I will tell you, as a business owner, you learn so many lessons.
You learn by doing. Well, I think I've heard it said before, an entrepreneur will work 100 hours a week so they don't work 40 for someone else, or something like that.
Yeah, and it's true, right? It's 100% true. But the lessons that you learn are, and the thing is, you have to learn from your lessons, right? Yes. I've seen a lot of people go through stuff, and it's like Einstein. Insanity is making the same mistake and, expecting different results.
Right,
yeah.
Right, yeah.
I learned from all my mistakes, thank God. And I've made a bunch of mistakes, right? And some of them were costly. Mm-hmm. Some of them were just lessons that you learn, and you're going to keep learning. And I don't care if you're in business for 20 years. If you don't learn, new lessons, then I think something's up. You need to always be learning. Yeah. So for seasoned entrepreneurs who've been in business for a while, and we all go through hurdles, right? So what are some hurdles that you've gone through, that you've come through the other side of, kind of like, whew, glad that's over with?
Well, I had a partnership.
That seems to be a common theme. I just want to throw that out there.
I did. Well, and, I started on my own. And I just literally said, I'm going to have my own business. I'm going to, put up my own shingle, what have you. And I started the practice on my own, and I thought, I got to the point where, and this is something that happens a lot too, as businesses grow, you find that you cannot, nor should you, be doing everything yourself.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So you have to delegate certain things to other people. And as entrepreneurs, we feel like only we can do things and nobody else is going to do it the way I'm going to do it. And that's probably true. But it's something that you need to accept, is that you have to delegate some of the lower level tasks to other people, so that you can focus on doing, kind of what your genius is, right? So,
Right.
but as I started to grow, I really needed help on the legal front, like getting the work done, right? I was bringing in the clients. It's always kind of been, I love talking to people, and bringing in clients has never really been the issue. It's just a matter of, I also have very high standards with regard to making sure my clients feel like they're taken care of, and all of that. So I had a woman who started working with me, and it was wonderful, wonderful, wonderful for so long. But it's just kind of like there were different, like you said, it got to a point where I felt like there were certain things that were my vision of the firm, and certain things I felt needed to be done to get to my vision, and she had a different vision. And and we worked really, really well together for a number of years, but ultimately, it was a lot of hurt feelings. And it's something that happens a lot between when you go into partnership again, it's like there's the front facing person who's the outgoing sales marketing person. And then there's a person who's maybe more of an introvert, or they're the ones doing kind of more the, the HR and the management, that sort of thing. And so there really needs to be that, kind of like, again, a mutual respect for each other and the different roles that you bring.
Yeah.
So I'd say that's one thing that was very difficult. I mean, like I said, it was good for a while, but there was a lot of stress and a lot of controversy and just tension and yuckiness that kind of dragged maybe for too long. I mean, when you get to the point where it's, that you should just cut ties. And so when we cut ties, I was like, oh, it felt so good.
Yeah.
Then I was like, yes, I was like, I could take those steps, because you're right. When you have to ask someone, for their permission or their agreement to engage in a certain, advertising or different things like that. So I think that was one thing that I learned and was an obstacle. And the other thing is just something that every entrepreneur has to deal with, and that's time management, right?
Oh, yes.
It's time management. And again, it relates to, in order to scale your business and grow, you need to work with other people. And that carries its own level of issues, whether it's, again, for small businesses, if they're hiring independent contractors, that has some legal exposure and legal risk, and just trying to get everything done, because you can, after a while, burn yourself out. So you feel like you're going to have so much freedom and independence having your own business. And then what you find is, when you're doing everything yourself and you're staying up at all hours of the night thinking about your business, you end up to the point where you're not enjoying the time that your family, you're not being able to take vacations or quality time that you really need to take. You need to take time away. You need to take time to think about your vision, as they say, work on your business instead of in your business.
Yeah,
and
I was going to say that, actually. Yes.
Yeah. So it
right.
really is important to take time out. I try to take like a personal retreat, like at least once a quarter, where I'll just take a day or two, where maybe I'll stay in a local hotel, like down the street from my house.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. I actually did
get
that
out
last week. Last week, we've had, I don't know if I told you when we spoke, just this drama with my dog and eye surgeries. And it's just been like this whole thing. And last week, she had her 6th eye procedure.
Wow.
And I said to the vet, oh yeah, don't even, get started on that. But I said to the vet the day of the surgery, I said, should I raise the bowl when I feed her? Because I know when I bend my head down, blood rushes to my head. And, and my wife can't deal with anything with eyes. She just, Like if I have to put drops in her eyes, I literally have to like get on top of her and hold her down to like put a drop in. So for her to,
some people are just don't do well. Yeah.
yeah, she doesn't do it. Like she won't wear contacts. I'm just like, whatever. So of course, he said, no, dogs are different. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So I get home and I said to Heather, he said dogs are different, but I want to raise the bowl. Well, we couldn't get it right because of her cone. So we had to put it down,
right.
Which sucked. So we had to put it down on the floor. And when she got up, her face was covered in blood and I melted down. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It was just, I'm not going to show the picture. I can, but it was just because I took a picture because I sent it to him. I'm like, what the? Yeah, it was not a happy text. So I'm looking at her and I'm like, I have to clean her face because she's looking at me all bloody, like, Mom, what's going on? And I didn't know if the stitches, I had no idea what happened. Yeah. So, Heather's like, I said, can you get me wet cotton balls and just get me dry ones and I'll do this. So I'm like trying to not lose my shit, but I was like losing my shit. And I cleaned her eye and it was okay. Like everything was okay. I was not okay. That was Thursday. No, that was Friday, Wednesday rather. I was like, I couldn't focus on work. Like Thursday came and I was like so worried about her and and we have a puppy. So there's like, I had to keep them tethered and separate from each other. So they're like,
yeah, life happens.
Oh, it was nuts. And so Friday I was like, I'm done. I told my wife, I'm like, I'm not working. I'm not answering the phone. I'm going to handle the dogs because you're at work but I'm checking out. And I let my clients know. I was like, I know that this is going to be shocking because I never do this, but I'm checking out. And
you're just not available.
Yeah, it was the best thing I did.
Good. Yeah,
it was.
You're just not available. They don't need to know that you're having a minor breakdown.
No, they didn't know I had a breakdown. I just said I'm checking out for the day. I said I'm taking the day. Yeah. I said unless something's on fire, don't contact me. Right. Or if you do send me an email, I'm not answering it till Monday. So I took Friday, and the beginning of the day I was freaking out going, oh, what if somebody needs something? And then by like noon, I was like, I didn't care. Not that I don't care about my clients, but I really had to take care of myself. And I never did that before. Like I never just took the day. And I was like, that was the most amazing thing that I did. So I think I'm going to do the same thing once a quarter.
Yeah.
I'm just going to, because I didn't realize how, and not even from the dogs, just in general, just like taking a breather. Right. Mm-hmm. And I hired an executive assistant, through Hayden, actually, handled by Hayden. She's in the Danes.
She's great. Yeah.
She's amazing. My EA is like phenomenal. And that's taken a lot of stress off.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like I'm constantly learning. I've always done everything by myself. I've, worked with, contractors. And now I'm like, you know what? It's time. I've been doing this long enough. I need help. I don't have to do it all by myself.
Right.
And I'm not. And that's been huge for me. This week has been an amazing, a really amazing week in realizing my program that I talked to you about and briefly, and just that I don't have to do it all. Because I've been doing it all for almost 14 years.
Right. And we do have a tendency to feel like we need to do everything right away. So yeah, take an afternoon. I had I'm in like a mastermind mentoring session, and we had a woman who was just feeling like she was going all day, every day. And we said, look, just book time in your calendar, even if it's a few hours, maybe Monday mornings, don't book anything. Tell your, whoever does your scheduling, just block it out and use that time, to plan or to maybe come in a little bit later, and think about things. Or maybe, don't book yourself on Friday afternoons. Or if you can take a day and just say, I don't take appointments on Mondays. It's about controlling your time. It's like I call it time batching. So like I usually will try on Mondays. I try not to book things on Mondays, except for I call marketing Mondays. So it gives me a time to focus on, my messaging, my vision, that sort of thing. And then I have new client consultations on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then I've got time for client meetings, that sort of thing. So, but you don't need to tell, your clients don't need to know, that you're taking the afternoon off. Because basically, I'm just not available. And you can say, okay, they want to talk Friday afternoon. And, yeah. And if you don't book yourselves on Monday mornings and somebody wants a Monday morning appointment, I'm just not available. But hey, I'm happy to talk to you on Tuesday morning.
Right.
Right. And you just need to control your time, because otherwise you just end up on that rabbit wheel.
Yeah. And I think that,
is it a hamster wheel, not a rabbit wheel? Hamster wheel.
It's a hamster wheel, yeah. But a rabbit could be on a wheel too, I guess. Yes,
I don't know.
Somebody's on a wheel, but yeah. And it's true, because you're constantly going, and it was funny because, so I'll just throw it out there. Krista Grasso helped me. We were talking on Tuesday, because she sent me, she sent a book out, and she sent this beautiful note with the book, and it resonated with me. Like, I'll get things from people in the mail and I look at it and I'm like, thank you. And I'll send a thank you email, but something was like, we should book time and just really talk. We connected instantly. A half-hour call turned into 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great. And then, we were talking and I told her that I was moving to a more consultative model instead of, services and stuff. And I told her what I was charging an hour, and she just looked at, and as I'm talking, she's writing, and I'm like, what is she doing? And then, she said, you done? And I went, yeah. She goes, you're not charging by the hour. You're going to do a day program. And I went, huh? And that's how everything came about. And so I was like, I never even thought of that. Like, my brain never operated that way, because I've always been in the service. And, one of the things when I was talking to Hayden, I said, I help people, to be able to work on their business and not in their business. And she goes, what are you doing?
Oh yeah. Right. We don't do that for ourselves.
And I went, don't throw that shit back on me. What are you talking about? Right. I was like, what do you mean? And I thought about it, and I was like, I've been working in my business forever. I work on it as well, but I do work in it. And so what I'm trying to do now is get to the point that I tell all my clients, I want you to work on the business and not in the business. Let us do that for you. So, there's just like, it just seems like everything is just always like a new lesson. Every week I feel like I learn something new or glean something from somebody else's experience.
Yeah. So, I'm always like reading books and taking classes and, on different people's lists, and they're like, oh, masterclass on this skill set, masterclass on this skill set. And so, I'm always, you never stop learning. No. And then there's also just like there's professional development, and there's personal development as well. Mindset, like reading Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And like, any entrepreneur should read that book. Right?
Yeah. And I have, reading, I'm going to write it down, because I have not read that stuff.
Yeah. No, it's
one thing you'll find out. I'm very transparent. If I didn't do something, reading, thinking, what is it?
Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich. Okay.
Yeah.
Why the hell haven't I read that?
It's about mindset, and it's about this, what's called the law of attraction, which is basically about putting your ideas out into the universe, and there being an energy in the
that I've been doing
to you. Right. So, and some people think that's great. Some people think it's a little woo-woo, what have you, but still, there is an education to be developed from reading that book, because it was like in the age of the, I want to say in the Depression, before the Depression, and Napoleon Hill interviewed some of the masterminds of the age.
Wow.
About how to be successful. And every time, and I've read it several times, and every time I read it, I was like, wow, it's so true. And it applies to the mindset of owning your own business, and it's now just as then. And so,
wow, I'm going to read that. I'm actually going to be doing doing this again. I'm actually going to be doing a video series on the 4 P's of marketing. And it was the professor, I want to say Foster, who was a Harvard marketing professor, who came up with the concept of the 4 P's of marketing. And it was in the 50s, and it's still relevant now. So that's what this freed me up to do. That's what getting an executive assistant and being able to, work on it freed me up to be able to start to do video again, which I missed. Yeah. So I'm going to be doing a series on that. And it is relevant. And one of the things that was interesting was place, because it's product, place, price, and what's the fourth? Product, price, place, and promotion. But place was interesting to me because back in the 50s, the place was brick and mortar, right? And your promotion was on the windows. Right. So, and now your place, your brick and mortar is your website. Your website is your online storefront. Mm-hmm. So it's all relevant. Like everything that he was talking about then is like evergreen. It's going to be relevant forever. So it was pretty cool. Yeah. So cool. Yeah. So you have, I know you had your textbizlaw.com for a freebie that you were doing, and what are some of the promotions that you're doing? And So
if you text BizLaw, thank you for putting that up there on the screen.
For those of you who can't see it, it's text BizLaw to 26786.
Yep. Go ahead. BizLaw 26786. And so that's the top 5 legal mistakes business owners make. So it's a high level document, like a free resource that just brings to the forefront some issues that maybe a business owner may not have thought of. So that's a free resource. And I'm in the process right now, like you, of recording some digital courses. I just recorded the 5 W's for a simple contract, because everyone wants a simple contract. So there's the 5 W's of what you need to look out for, as well as the top things you need to know to create a brand to build your business on. So it's on trademarks is the topic. And so I'm recording it's going to be a digital course packet, and each course by itself is like $97. And then, you can bundle them all together and that sort of thing. So that's in the works right now. So anyone who texts BizLaw and they get on my list, then as those programs are developed and launched, then they'll be the first to know.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what, who's your perfect client?
So my perfect client is someone who is, is a business owner, someone who wants to know that things are, they're doing the things the right way from a legal perspective. They want to make sure their assets are protected and that they're doing things right. I work with, like I said, all different types of businesses, but particularly my sweet spot is working with growing businesses. So maybe someone who started a business, maybe didn't do everything the right way from the start. They know it, and now they're ready to make sure things are done right so they can build a foundation for a successful business.
Cool.
So it's more about mindset.
Right. And, you talked about the woo-woo thing, and, the audience knows I do on full moon and on new moon. I do, new moon, I do my manifestation for things to come in, and the full moon, I let things that no longer serve me. And I think, law of attraction is mindset, because if you think negatively, you're going to bring negative stuff to you. If you think positively, and if you think of the things that you want, you will get them. it is all, it's not woo woo, or you can call it woo woo, but it works. So,
well, and the important part to that though is you need to write it down. You need to, do a vision board. I think there's something to it that when you sit down and you actually see it, then you can make it happen, whether it's manifestation or whether it's just seeing it in place. And that's why kind of going back to where we started, that's why I think writing out a business plan is so important. And it doesn't have to be this 30-page document or whatever. I mean, it could literally be like one page on the back of a napkin, but write out what it is you're trying to accomplish and who you want to serve and what your goals are and that sort of thing. Because when you write it down and you see it, it really takes a different meaning in your mind. Your mind absorbs it as if, oh yes, this is happening. This is a real thing.
Right. And when I did when I came up with, because when Krista came up with the idea on what I should do, and then I was like, man, it needs to be, in line with my brand. So it needs to have something to do with like a cooking dish or something. So we did one day souffle. And,
I love that. That's great.
And so it's one day souffle, the recipe for your marketing differentiator. What makes you What makes you different from your competitor? And I hate to use the word competitor because, but at the end of the day, that's what it is. So that's a really good segue into what's your differentiator? Like what makes you different from, why would somebody want to work with you as opposed to somebody else?
Well, in case you hadn't already noticed, everyone tells me that I don't talk like your typical lawyer. I don't look like your typical lawyer. I'm very much about, I'm an entrepreneur myself. So I think what sets me apart is I really understand how entrepreneurs think. And, I don't judge anyone. Some lawyers are arrogant. They talk to hear themselves talk. They are trying to, show you how intelligent they are, that they try to, talk above you, that sort of thing. I said, I'm not your typical lawyer. I don't, my office is, you can probably see the cars driving by, but very accessible. Like literally my clients stop in, they knock on the door and walk in. I'm not like in some tall high-rise building with glass walled conference rooms. So I think what sets me apart is that I'm real. I'm relatable. I'm really here to help and not to judge. And I think that's what sets me apart.
Cool. That is awesome. So for folks listening in the LA area, or actually all of California, right? Doesn't matter really where they are. If you are looking for somebody who's going to have your back, and really steer you in the right direction ethically, reach out to DeAnn. The website is, you could do the text biz law to 26786 to get the freebie. And then chaselawmb.com is her website. She's also on LinkedIn. So are you active on LinkedIn? You're pretty active on LinkedIn?
Yes. Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn.
So there you go. So there's lots of places to find her. And it's been really great talking to you because I know the first couple of times we talked, it was a little different. But I think that what you do and the fact that you are real and that you're very approachable. Like you're very, it's so easy to talk to you on a professional basis as well as just, sitting around and, bullshitting. So yeah, and I think that's important because I've worked with lawyers that I actually did work for a law firm. This is like 10 years ago, and halfway through the project, I pulled out. We weren't a good fit. He was a nice guy, but he was just very stuffy and very, and I was like, man, I hate to do this, but this isn't going to work.
It's not working. Yeah.
And, he kind of looked at me and was like, what do you mean? I said, I'll complete the project because, I'm not going to stop the project midway. But after the project's done, I think you should work with a different marketer. And
Yeah.
and that's what we did. So it was, it was weird because I've never done anything like that, but it was just like, man, I didn't feel comfortable. I felt that if I worked with him, that at some point he was going to probably try to pull something. And he's I'm like, he's a lawyer. I don't know about that stuff. I have no idea what I'm getting into. So I was like, I'm just going to finish the website for you and let's call it a day.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. So
you have to follow your gut.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So the last question that I ask everybody, first off, I want to say thank you for taking the time out of your day. And thank you for dealing with our glitch today. I appreciate that. But what lights your fire? And it doesn't have to be, it could be professional, it could be personal, but what fires you up? What gets you going?
Well, on the business side of things, in case it's not clear, I'm very passionate about helping other people succeed in business. So that's what I love. I love talking to entrepreneurs and thinking about, helping them to think through their business ideas and their concepts, because that's the part that I love, is the creative aspect of thinking about a new business or a new market and how to grow and expand. So that from a business perspective, and then my kids, my kids are everything to me. And, now they're not so young anymore. I mean, my youngest is going into her 3rd year at UCLA. My youngest, I just chucked him off to put him into a dorm at Loyola Marymount University, which is right here in LA.
Wow.
And I'm so proud, but really excited. My son is on a baseball scholarship, and so my husband and I are so excited to watch him play. When he graduated from high school, we thought, it's baseball was done, but I love baseball, and so I'm really excited about when the season starts.
So Dodgers?
Love the Dodgers and the Angels.
Okay. Yes. Right on. Mm-hmm. Now, are the Angels played in Anaheim, right? Or was that okay? And they're still there?
Yeah, they're still there.
Okay, yeah. Right on.
Yeah, and I'm originally from Northern California, so I still love the San Francisco Giants. So when the Giants play the Dodgers, it's always such a dilemma for me as far as it's like colors I'm wearing.
Well, and it's with me with the Mets and the Yankees. I mean, I'm a Yankees fan 100%, and most of my family, which cracks me up, are Mets fans.
Wow, that's funny.
And now we just had Aaron Judge, hit Roger Maris's record. He surpassed it, which was awesome. And I think the Mets made the division. I don't know. I have a friend of mine who was like, I don't hate the Yankees. I love, our New York teams, and it would be amazing to have like a New York, like a Subway World Series.
Oh, that would be so.
That would be insane. I don't know what I would do at that point. I would have to fly to New York. Well, thank you again for being on. And
it's been a lot of fun.
Cool. I'm going to say goodbye to everybody, and I'll be right back.
Okay.
So everybody, thank you again so much. I just appreciate you all hanging in, for an hour and change. And I appreciate so many of the comments that I've been getting. And I do want to give a shout out to a friend of mine who on LinkedIn today said, you were my co-pilot, on the way to work and on the way home from work. So that's Michelle Kreinbrook. And I usually don't do a shout out like that, but she sent me that text yesterday morning, and it put the biggest smile on my face. So that tells me that I'm doing something right. So thank you guys. I appreciate you all. Again, thanks for hanging in there, and go out and find what lights your fire. See you next time.